Thank you. Our meeting tonight is the regularly scheduled official board action meeting where we will be voting on matters which have been discussed by the board in previous meetings. Our meeting tonight is being videotaped for community cable channels. Individuals attending the meeting tonight and intending to speak to the board should be aware that you are being videotaped. In order to meet the requirements of the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, we record the name and address of all those citizens who speak to the board. To assure compliance with this, we ask that during the audience of citizens, if you have comments, you come up and use the microphone and give us your name and address for our records. We also ask that you limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes in order to give all those who wish to speak to the board the opportunity to do so. First item on our agenda is approval of the minutes for the 666th meeting held on September 23rd as circulated to the board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Shields, second by Redcamp. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now I'll ask our Board Vice President, Mr. Redcamp, and Mr. Weir to help with student proclamations.
My name is Ken Weir. It's a privilege to assist our Board Vice President, Ralph Redcamp, with proclamations that recognize some of our finest scholars. The proclamations are customized, if you will, for each student, and we have some competition tonight, but we invited, I believe, 52 students to come tonight to accept proclamations from the board. The preamble to each proclamation is the same, so we'll read it only once. Whereas many North Penn School District students individually and collectively perform distinguished service to their school in many activities, and whereas the reputation and image of the North Penn School District is built and enhanced by the performance of its faculty and students, and whereas the accomplishments of individual students in academic, artistic, athletic, leadership, literary, and musical endeavors bring positive community interest in school programs, and whereas the future of any community rests in the hands of its responsible youth, and then the student is named and the accomplishment is stated. I'd like Dr. Bond, our high school principal, Dr. Juan Bond, to call the names of the students. Mr. Redcamp will be issuing the proclamations. If all of the students who were invited to receive proclamations would come down and stand by the flag, please, and if they would come together as a group now, and then we'll call you in the order that Dr. Bond reads. Would the students who were invited please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Weir. As our students are coming forward, I would like to take this opportunity to say how proud I am of, as principal of North Penn High School, to be awarding the most National Merit semifinalists and commended students in the history of North Penn High School. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the faculty and staff at the high school, but additionally, I'd like to say thank you to all of those persons who work to get those youngsters through the high school, namely the junior high school principal, administration and their staff, the middle school administration and staff, as well as all of our elementary schools. For we take a tremendous amount of pride here at North Penn High School in saying that it's those schools that send us the youngsters, and our job is to finish the product, and we think that we have done that successfully with these youngsters. The first, the National Merit Scholarship semifinalist, and we have 9 of those. Nina Allen. Nina is also a semifinalist for the National Achievement Scholarship Program for Outstanding Negro Students. We think it'd probably be good if we held our applause till all of these young people's names have been called and they've received their certificates. Brian Campbell, National Merit Scholarship semifinalist. Brian isn't here. Timothy Knopf. Timothy. Bonko. Nancy Lee. Patrick McCurry. Derek Pilley. Michael Powers. And William Severin. like to publicly apologize to William Severin for his picture did not get in the paper. We owe him one for that. North Penn High School National Merit Scholarship semifinalists, ladies and gentlemen. In addition to Nina, we have two other persons who are semifinalists for the National Achievement Scholarship Program. They are Farrah Holder and Ian McFadden. McFadden, didn't I say McFadden? Those are the National Achievement Scholarship Program for Outstanding Negro Students semifinalists, ladies and gentlemen. We have 41 students who are commended students in the National Merit Scholarship Program. Danielle Abram, Daniel Beto, Don Bitto. I've been practicing since 7:30 this morning. Abby Karp, Colin Chambers, Angela Kroll, Catherine Demora, Jessica Fair, Peter Fisher, Nidhi Garg, Sarah Goodyear, Shannon Grin, Peter Hahn, Christine Hanlon, Michael Hartzell, Fair Holder, Brian Hazel, Elizabeth Johnny, Christopher Keenan, Susan Kurkowski, Donald Legower, Jeffrey Lunger, Catherine McGeary, Michael McKeeman, in addition to the other award, Ian McFadden. Seema Mehta, Lauren Morges, Marissa Murphy, Melissa Olenek, Ferris Patel, Stacy Pavlik, Victor Roberts, Jessica Rosiak, Andrew Sarang, Luke Sosnowski, Gregory Sproul, Matthew Sutton, Angel Tang, Omar Tellen, Samantha Wales, Russell Walters, and Michael Welsh. 41 commended students is hard to beat anywhere in the country. Additionally, we have 2 National Achievement Scholarship Program for outstanding Negro students, commended students. They are Yolanda Wisher and Ima Ahonkai. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and we're so proud of all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, semifinalists and commended students, the best there is. Congratulations.
We'll take just a short 2-minute break here to give us an opportunity to congratulate some of the students and give them the opportunity to head home to do their homework. I'd like to call the meeting to order again. We'll now move on to our committee reports. First committee is Buildings and Grounds. Terry?
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. We've completed some various projects that were outstanding. The concrete sidewalk was poured by district maintenance staff to expand the student pickup area at Gwynnor. At Inglewood, they completed the fuel oil tank replacement and the play area overpaving. We completed relining of the parking area at AM Culp. At Nash, we completed the playground and installed park benches. And at North Wales, they reconstructed the physical education storage and the office area. End of the report.
Thank you, Terry. Anything under community services, Tom? No. Curriculum, Pat?
Yes, the curriculum report. At the October committee meeting, the board heard a request to participate in a Reading is Fundamental partnership. This is between the school district and the United Gas Improvement Company and its AmeriGas subsidiary in Culpsville. This program promotes literacy and will provide each first-grade child with 3 books to help them start a personal library this year. In addition, a preliminary report was received from the task force charged with the responsibility of developing new elementary attendance areas for 1994-95. 2 meetings to receive parent input will be held October 26th and October 28th at Gwinnett Square and Montgomery School, respectively. The final recommendations are anticipated at the November 9th committee meeting. The board will not vote to adopt attendance areas until November the 18th, excuse me. An overview of our secondary instructional programs was the third thing on the agenda. Grades 7 to 12 was presented prior to discussion of proposed changes to the high school program of studies for 94-95. The recommended changes are on the agenda for action this evening. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Pat. Extracurricular, Carmen?
Yes, Pat. There is an item on your agenda for a jazz band director and assistant. I'll turn it over to Dr. Venema to explain, and then I'll do the recommendation. Is that? Yes?
If you'd like me to do it at this point.
Excuse me?
Is it on the agenda?
If you'd like
Did you
me
want
do
to
it this-
explain the actual writing of it? Or I'll just make the recommendation. How's that?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay, I'll do the recommendation. I recommend approval to establish 2 extra duty positions at the high school, 1 jazz band director, group level 2, and 2 assistant jazz band director, group level 1.
Okay, I have a motion by Leahy. Is that what you're making a motion now? Second by Whalen. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Carmen? Finance. Pat, will you do a finance report today?
Yes, the Finance Committee met on September 21st with representatives of Public Financial Management to discuss a possible refinancing of the 92 bond issue and participation in the Emmaus Bond Pool Program. At the October committee meeting, the board was presented with options concerning the bond refinancing and also a cash management program which will result in a more effective investment strategy for existing unexpended bond funds. There was a consensus that evening from the board that given current economic conditions, it would be prudent to proceed with option number 2 for both proposals. These options should provide the school district with a net gain of approximately $600,000 for the operating budget. Tonight, the board will be voting on a resolution to proceed with these bond proposals. That concludes.
Pat, do you want to make the motions for the resolutions?
The
I-
motion should be,
Okay.
Mr. President, the motion should be that the board adopt the resolution in the form presented.
Each resolution, right?
Well, there's one resolution that covers both.
Okay, so we only need to do one
Yeah,
then?
to adopt the resolution in the form
Okay,
presented.
okay.
Okay. I recommend approval of resolution of option number 2 as listed.
Second.
Motion by Shields, second by Mango. Any questions from the board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pat. Personnel, Donna?
Yes, Ms. Davis, I don't have a specific report, but I do want to take the opportunity to, for a moment, to our Personnel Director and Chief Negotiator, Fred Schmidt, if there would be anything at this time or not.
No, I don't have anything to report at this time, Mrs. Mangle. Thank you.
No personnel report, Mrs. Davis.
Thank you, Donna. Legislative, Carmen?
The legislators at the Senate will be back after the election.
We'll skip the IU. Municipal Relations, Donna, any report?
Yes, another good report to provide among all those given tonight, Mrs. Davis. Municipal Relations met on October 14th. At that time, we had gone over articulating and cooperating programs between the municipalities and Adelphia and Suburban as we move forward, not only extending services at North Penn, but also as we look into the future at the second high school. We also talked at that time about DARE monies in the state. They are drying up, and we have asked each of the municipalities to come forward with other avenues of funding that they've been able to secure and to share that with us as to what they've been able to obtain. Some of the municipalities have benefited from WAM money, walking around money that was provided to them by their legislators. We have scheduled a meeting prior to municipal end-of-year budgets, and that will be November 11th, I believe, Ralph confirmed, November 11th, and we will meet with them again and get an idea of exactly how much money they have before we look at exactly how much money we have to complement the DARE programs, and we will share those figures probably at the December meeting, formal meeting of the board. We also at that time took the opportunity to talk professionally as officials as to the resolution that we cast and approved with Temenson Township and the police services that they are rendering in the next 3 years. That was explained to the municipalities as to how that came to be, and it seems to have been accepted well enough by all. Also, we are formulating a program between the municipalities and the Municipal Relations Committee in the area of reassessments. It is a thorn in the side of not only ourselves, but also all the municipalities comprising the North Penn School District. And we have agreed as a team, North Penn School District municipal and municipal party team, that we need a concerted and an amalgamated effort to do something about reassessments. And we need to not only attract the attention of our legislators and senators, but also the court system. We have to come to some means or some understanding or some new way that we can come about to deal with these reassessments. They are damaging all of us financially, and so we feel that the only way to come to terms with it is to deal cooperatively. We have set our next quarterly meeting for January 13th. We are formulating an agenda which we will publish to the municipal officers before that time. Municipal Relations does meet quarterly, but when there is a special item, agenda item, we will meet in between. That's why the November 11th meeting was cast for the DARE program funding. End of my report.
Okay, thank you, Donna. North Montco, Donna or Ralph, was there any report from North Montco?
Yes, let me do that quickly. As you know, Ralph, myself, and colleague Haberstadt represent North Penn on the VOTEC board. We were able to secure approval from our other colleagues of the sending school districts at the North Montco VOTEC to approve a lease for extending the fields up around our bus garage for a soccer field and some additional parking. We have given permission for the solicitor, Jeffrey Sultanic, at the VOTEC to go ahead and negotiate the contract between North Penn officials and the VOTEC to allow this to take place. But we do have their approval that we can move ahead and do such.
I should point out that's $1 a year lease.
Yes, $1 a year
Fill out
lease.
the terms.
Okay, thank you. Policy, Tom.
Board members are aware that we have an existing policy number 4316, which outlines the procedures for district personnel to report instances of sexual harassment. There is also a related administrative reg, number 4316. Board policy 4316 has been revised to include sexual harassment involving students, that is, complaints by students of harassment by district personnel. We have created a similar but new policy number 5150 for inclusion in the student section of the policy manual. This policy provides procedures for students who have complaints of harassment by other students and or students who have complaints of harassment by district personnel. We have created a companion regulation number 5150. The amended policy 4316 and the new policy 5150 are scheduled for second reading tonight. These policy drafts have been reviewed by Charles Potash, the building principals, and leaders of the High School Student Government Association. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of board policies 4316 and 5150 regarding sexual harassment.
So moved.
A motion by Whalen, second by Mangle. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tom. And facilities expansion. Ralph, any report?
Yes, at the Bridle Path Elementary School, the first floor concrete pours are 85% complete, and structural steel erection in the two-story classroom wing is progressing at a rapid pace. The plumbing contractor and the electrical contractors have completed all below-grade rough-ins. The HVAC contractor has installed ice storage holding tanks, and finished grading for roadways and parking areas completed. Curb work is ready to begin at any day. Walton Farm Elementary School, the stormwater retention basin is complete. The grading continues for the preparation of stormwater piping and curbing construction. The construction roadway has been built. Building pad is to grade. Many footings and piers have been poured, and the masonry block work has begun. Demolition is complete at 2 of the houses on the property. At the A.M. Culp Elementary School, factory-built units are under construction, and we are assured of delivery the last week of October. At the site, foundation and piers are completed. The electrical service work and sewer connection should begin the week of October 25th, 1993. That's the end of the report.
Okay. Thank you, Ralph. We'll now move on to audience of citizens. Is there anyone tonight who has any comments for the board? Yes, sir.
Can I back this off a little bit? We're Tom and Patty Parentozzi, and we live in Tomenson Township. And I would like to preface what I have to say first by saying that between the two of us, we have over 40 years of public school teaching experience. We both are presently public school teachers. I teach in Centennial School District, and my husband is in Norristown. Keeping that in mind, we were in a quandary of what to do about something that my son received in school this week. He goes to North Penn Junior High School. And, but more importantly, as parents, we knew what we must do. As formerly Penfield parents and living through where did I come from, and other health things that we had concerns with. We would like to pass out for your consideration something that my son received in health class this week. At the same time, if you look at this, I don't know if you would like to address this, but the question for the health class was who smokes the marijuana and who is the prostitute. I want you to read it carefully. I also have a paper that I'm passing out to you because as a math teacher, I use a problem similar to this in my math education. I not only teach in a public school, but I also teach teachers in the undergraduate and graduate level at a local college, and we do problem solving. This is a logical problem solving experience that is offered. My question says, who drinks the water and who owns the zebra? And I think that the same, first of all, I don't understand what the object of this lesson was. If it was problem solving, it could have been handled in a different way. This is a problem that I received when I was I think 11 or 12 years old. It's been around that long, and it's been changed to this. And I think my husband as a health teacher, that's me as a math teacher, my husband as a health teacher has something to say.
I try to give this this paper here a benefit of the doubt, and I was just looking at the different drugs here that were stated, and it seems to me it gives a message to the students. It did to me that there are no drug-free homes, and then when I saw on the bottom it said, and who was the prostitute, and then by looking at the top it talked about different occupations. It just gave me the impression that prostitution is now an occupation, not just a profession. So as a health and physical education instructor, I don't see any benefit with the terms. I feel that they're unnecessary, and I would not, as one health physical education teacher in the United States, I would not use this form to get, I don't know what the message was, but I would not use this myself. That's really all I had to say.
Mr. and Mrs. Parentozzi, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, could you let him speak? Thank you, Ricky. Go ahead.
As educators, and I appreciate the fact that you prefaced your remarks by indicating that you are educators, did you seek to take this to the teacher or the principal? And because I would be curious as to what response you received at this point.
We just got this, and that's why I was in a quandary about what to do. And I also had to preface it by saying that I was a Penfield parent, and I had enough last year. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Will I go in tomorrow morning? Yes, I am going to. But he has class tomorrow, and I don't want him to go to class because they're going to get prizes for the people that got the right answer to these questions.
Okay, thank you. I can tell you both that Dr. Venom and I received a copy of this by board members about 7:30 this evening. I can also tell you that Dr. Venom will be investigating this matter. Just as educators, you would understand that it's our responsibility to investigate first prior to prejudging a teacher's decision-making in this regard. I had a minute or two to look at it. I at least on the surface, would concur that I see no inherent value in the worksheet. I would also say that the reference to women, religions, and drugs and ethnicity can be demeaning to women, to various ethnic groups, and to various religions. That's at least on the surface after a 2-minute look-through. Dr. Veneman will investigate. He'll meet and talk with the principal and the teacher, and I can assure you, if the matter needs to go further in terms of any kind of employee actions, that will occur, and that our board liaison for personnel, Mrs. Mangle, would be apprised of that matter in a confidential way, I'm sure. As employees, as educators, you understand that there are certain legal rights for a professional as well.
And the point was not to go to that But the point was, as a parent, I just needed to know that you knew.
Yes.
I don't know how else to say
Only a
it.
few minutes ago, but we were made aware of that.
Okay, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the fact that it's being taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Elko, would you consider also taking this through our multicultural task force? I believe this is very much the reason why that group formulated.
I think that there may be an opportunity and I don't want to prejudge a situation, but if an inappropriate judgment were made, something that offends other people, that there may be an important learning experience for others as a result of this situation. Unfortunately, there is absolutely never a foolproof guarantee that we can give to any parent that judgments will always be absolutely effective, just as you as parents cannot guarantee what your children will say in certain situations and what they will do. We like to believe that we work hard to make sure that our programs and our curriculum are effective. I'm very, very curious to find out the explanation as to why this was used from an instructional point of view, and we'll know that tomorrow. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening who has any comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Robert McLean, Hatfield. I would like an explanation from the board as to the policy for placement of campaign signs on school property. I have noticed at the Culp School, as well as at Penfield Junior High School, as well as on, I perceive, part of the Educational Services Center, signs placed by the Democratic Party on what I perceive to be school property. Could you please tell me what is your policy regarding that issue?
I can tell you that, Mr. McLean, that there is no written board policy related to that matter. What I can tell you, however, is that in past elections, past campaigns, and even under these circumstances, if a political party wishes to put signs on school property, we inform them that they are not permitted to do that, and we remove those. We saw a sign on the Educational Services Center property the other day, and it was removed. I'm not sure if Mr. Weir was able to get a hold of the party responsible for putting those signs there. Our principals are aware that political signs aren't to be placed on our properties. There is one area that we're looking into that we've been told that they are permitted to put political signs, and that is the easement area adjacent to schools from the road in, and we have not yet been able to get an opinion. We have to discuss that matter with our solicitor. But the easement would typically be a small area. I don't know how many feet.
I see.
What we do allow, because I know that one of the party leaders called my office the other day and talked about signage. On Election Day, as you're well aware, our schools are used as polling places.
That's correct.
Our board, I believe, feels that that's an important function and use of our schools. On Election Day, signs are permitted, but that occurs after the students have left the previous day, and the signs are put up and campaign literature is passed out. But that's on Election Day, and that's an entirely different matter.
So then, as long as the signs remain up, we can assume that other candidates may place their signs in the same area?
I would assume the signs are being removed if there are signs.
They are not
unless
removed
they're-
as of tonight, about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Now, the Culp School one is down.
Okay. And I know
The
that
one at
ESC
Penfield Junior High School is still up, and the one at the ESC, down at the corner near the railroad track.
I saw that tonight.
That's up tonight.
I thought it had been removed. I saw it tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
So they will be removed once it's determined that they are not on an
Once it's
easement.
determined that we're not violating any legal rights related to an easement, they will be removed. The custodians in those buildings who are responsible for the grounds will remove them.
I see. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening with comments? Yes.
Hello, members of the board. I'm Tim Knopf, student at North Penn High School and opinion editor of the Night Crier newspaper. I had one question regarding the student policy on sexual harassment that was just passed. In Tinker versus Des Moines School District of 1969, the majority opinion of Justice Abe Fortes required schools to provide constitutionally valid reasons for the limitation of free speech of their students. And I was going to ask members of the board who might have something to say about this, what legal tenets you cite in the defense of the policy that you just passed.
I would ask our solicitor to respond to that, since he was working with our board members in drafting that policy.
The sexual harassment policy addresses improper conduct, which in any way creates a situation which somehow or some way destroys the learning environment for an individual. And that's basically as regards to students, as regards to employees, it's the workplace situation. And that's essentially what it does. The fact whether you have a student sexual harassment policy or whether you have a sexual harassment policy regarding adults or employees, improper conduct was never condoned. It was always subject to a disciplinary action by the board. And what we've attempted to do with these policies is somehow or some way describe what might constitute improper conduct. And let me assure you that the Tinker case has no application in the situation that we're talking about. You don't have the right to yell fire in a crowded auditorium. The same way you don't have the right under free speech to use obscenities against another student or ridicule another student in circumstances where you create an environment which is not conducive to learning for that individual. And that's essentially the goal that we're attempting to seek. And interestingly enough, there's a Supreme Court case, the case that's going to be heard in the Supreme Court, which will help define even more and refine even more what constitutes sexual harassment. But I think the time has come, and this is not the only district, where we have to recognize that what took place in the playground and what took place on facilities when I went to school and when a lot of my colleagues here at the table went to school, and what people looked away from then is not what people are going to look away from now. And essentially, we are attempting to address that, and that's what the whole purpose of the policy is.
Okay. I just see the policy as being unclear since that Supreme Court case which you cite has not been heard yet. And since, or with regard to the exceptions of free speech that you cited, those were specific cases. There were 6 specific cases which limit free speech in certain situations, none of which dealt with sexual harassment. And being that that one has not yet been heard, I felt that it was jumping the gun for the North Penn School District to pass this policy. At this point in time, I felt that you should have waited.
Well, when that decision comes down, I'm sure we'll refine it. We have been refining, as the courts have addressed issues. To tell you the truth, in the last 3 or 4 years, we have redefined and we have refined and rewritten policies as the court has made certain decisions. We'll do that in this case. But let me assure you again, the objective, what I just indicated to you, was the whole purpose of that policy.
Okay, I understand.
And improper conduct was never to be condoned.
Okay, I was simply questioning the legal precepts involved.
Thank you.
Mr. Knopf, one moment. First of all, congratulations on your award tonight. Secondly, do you not approve of what we've done?
No, I approve of the motives, but I don't approve of the way that it was handled. And I don't believe that it's correct for a governmental institution such as a school district or quasi-governmental, however you'll have it, for them to establish rules which aren't consistent with the United States Constitution and what's been decided by the Supreme Court to be consistent with that Constitution.
So it's your opinion that we've gone in the right direction, but you feel we're technically out of place? The mechanics of it?
For the most part.
He thinks we're premature.
Well, for the most part, and I also feel, well, depending upon the result of that case, which is yet to come, it may be premature and or incorrect. but I also have some doubts about the administration of this policy, being that it's so vague in its, in other words, being that the speech and gestures involved can be left up to interpretation. And I'm wondering who's going to handle that, whether it would be the administration and whether it's really in their jurisdiction to handle such matters.
Tim, I think that it will be the administration and the staff of each school who will, in fact, handle it. But I think that this policy brings to the forefront for students something that is a problem. Whether you believe the research done by the AAUW, the national study that they commissioned or not, I can tell you as we sit here that there are real cases of sexual harassment in this school district that prevented youngsters from learning. That it was more than just, in the words of your editorial, more than people just being offensive. It resulted in students, your fellow students, withdrawing from certain activities because of harassment and withdrawing from attendance in school. I've seen the pain on the part of those students and their parents, and if something good comes of this, it will be that students realize that there's a line sometimes that needs to be drawn between normal adolescent behavior and harmful, hurting behavior directed toward another student. This policy was reviewed with our principals, and I believe in the case of North Penn High School, reviewed with the Student Government Association and the student leaders. I know that some of your fellow students feel strongly that this is necessary. It may not be the perfect policy at the present time, but if it gets a message out there to let students think about this a little bit, then maybe it will serve us well.
Okay, I appreciate your efforts and your purpose, and I just hope that students aren't hurt in the reverse scenario where someone's accused illegitimately.
And I appreciate students writing editorials about important matters related to students here at North Penn High School. It's nice to see our night crier students writing about issues that are important.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions this evening? Yes.
Okay, my name is Sang Lee. I live in North Wales. I'm also a student in North Penn. I'm a senior. I'd like to make a comment, first of all, and then ask a hypothetical question, if I may, about the same issue that Tim was talking about. All right, what I see is, I think, unwarranted, in my opinion, because of the fact that I'm sure with the experience that the combined adult population has and what their experiences have told them reflects their best judgment, but also I don't understand why that you think that they're mature enough to handle this kind of regulation, that they would not even be consulted about what kind of things that they are actually offended at, or maybe opinion poll or something like that at all. And I thought that maybe something like that would be appropriate because of the fact that you're saying that this is for the benefit of the student and for the student learning. And how can you do this without knowing what the actual student environment is that is needed? And that's my comment. And also, I have a hypothetical question. I don't know if you guys would just humor me. Okay. This may be even offensive to some people if I say it now. Okay. I notice in the hallways, this is straight from the high school, okay, certain groups that hang around together. Let's say, as I'm an Asian Korean, okay, I hang around with my friends, and I notice certain blacks, or let me be politically correct and say African Americans, and they speak and we speak very frankly to each other and call each other maybe to others racially offensive words. I could call a fellow Korean, let's say, this is just hypothetical, I could call them Cheng, or I've seen African American students calling each other yo nigger, something like that. And I want to know how you're going to handle something like this when somebody of another race calls that person by like a negative connotation. How would you handle that when they individually don't find that offensive when the person of their race calls them that, but then they're offended when somebody else calls them that?
If you're talking about a sexual harassment policy, I think you're talking about a different matter in that regard.
Okay, I mean, this is just hypothetical. It could be related to sexual harassment if they, here, let me use some more.
I think that's a question that you ought to pose to your high school principal first. If you have an issue, not here, but if you have an issue regarding discipline here in this high school, you start with the high school principal and the assistant principal.
What about
Can I take a stab at that?
Sure.
Let me take a stab at that. First of all, there's no way that anybody should treat another person with disrespect. I don't care whether you're the same race. I don't care if you're the same religion or what. There's no reason. And I know what goes on, but nobody should be treated with disrespect. And if it's seen, at least we ought to be cognizant of it and tell the person that is not the way you talk to a fellow human being. At least we've done that step. How you would handle it? Perhaps when a person hears it for the first time, and it doesn't create a disruption, and it doesn't create a fight. The very simple, the very least thing that ought to be done is bring it to a person's attention and say, you just don't talk to a person that way. You don't denigrate a person, you don't treat a person in disrespect, and the worst thing in the world is to embarrass a person publicly. Believe me, a person never forgets that when he's embarrassed publicly. So that's the first step you have to take. If that kind of remark would create a disruption, a fight or something, obviously other disciplinary procedures follow. But at the very least, if a teacher, remember this is all part of a learning process, that's why we're in school, or a principal hears that, they ought to not pass it by and say, this goes on. That's not the way. You tell that person that is not the way you handle it. That's how you educate people. And that's my response.
Okay, I'd like to close just by saying that, that I've heard Mr. Potash, I'm sorry if I mispronounced
My
your
name is Potash, Charles Potash.
I'm sorry. That you said that if it affects one individual's learning environment, I heard you say that, something to that line more than once tonight. As all the board members recognize that there is a diverse group in the school, and with that diversity, everyone as an individual has different standards of what they consider offensive, and I don't understand how you can just set one limit, especially considering that the students themselves have not been involved in the decision-making process.
Students were involved in a discussion of
How
that
many
policy.
students? What kind of students? What type of students?
I can't sit here and answer what students, but I know that Dr. Vaughn involved students here in the high school, the leadership. I see some students here that are part of SGA that are nodding.
I'm also part of SGA.
Well, I think you can discuss it with Dr. Vaughn.
I really
the
think if
board
you
is
have
gonna give you an
questions
answer.
about the administration of that policy at this building, you need to go back through your SGA to your administration and talk to them about how they're going to interpret it and how they're going to handle it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? If not, we'll move, yes.
My name is Mary Martha Whitworth, and I live in Towmenson. I just wanted to congratulate you again for passing the sexual harassment. I'm very, very excited that you finally got it, that we got it passed. And I also think it maybe provide a model for surrounding school districts. And again, North Penn is in the forefront and maybe providing models for other school districts because it's clearly something that's needed. In response to what the students were saying, and I think it's very exciting that they're here, I think it's going to be very important now how this is presented to the students. And if it's presented just as something that's read from the front to an auditorium of students, I don't think it's going to make a bit of difference. I think it needs to be presented in small groups, small classroom-sized groups, for at least a period that they have at least 45 minutes to really talk about this and bring up the kinds of issues that that these young men have been talking about tonight, and really talk about what it is. What is sexual harassment? What do you do about it? And these kinds of groups, I think, need to be led by someone who knows a little bit about it. Perhaps the counselors in the schools could go into the classrooms. I think that's the only way that it's really going to have an impact. So I would like to strongly suggest that we do that. Also, I hear a lot of talking about the high school. I would hope that this is also going to be presented in the middle schools and the junior high schools, and again, in small groups where the kids really have a chance to talk about it. And the other thing I think is very important is that we make sure that students know how they can report teachers who they feel are sexually harassing them without fear of retribution, because I think that's been a problem in the past in this district. So in these presentations, I would hope that they are told very clearly that there will be no retribution and that this is how it's reported. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? If not, we'll move on to our business agenda. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Elko.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. On page BA1, please, item 5A. I recommend approval of the waiver of tuition status for students whose names are on file in the Office of Special Education and Student Services.
Motion by Shields, second by, who was that down there? Prokowski. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Page BA2, please. I recommend the approval of $2,500 to fund the 1993-94 Reading is Fundamental program for first graders.
Second.
Motion by Shields, second by Whalen. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5C, I recommend approval of the North Penn High School 1994-95 program of study changes.
Second.
Motion by Leahy, second by Shields. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D, I recommend approval to appoint Joseph Biro and Associates, Inc., $2,850 to provide the professional engineering services for the fuel tank removal at the bus garage.
Second.
Motion by Prokowski, second by Redcamp. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item E, I recommend the approval of the extension of the current lease with the trustees of the North Wales Memorial Free Library for a 10-year period effective March 1, 1994, at a fee of $1 per year.
Second. Motion by Shields, second by Whalen. Any discussion?
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
The record needs to show that I have a conflict of interest and will refrain from
Okay.
vote.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And one abstention. Motion passes.
Item F, I recommend the acceptance of the gift to the district from the Gwynnor Home and School Association, pedestal fans, and a printing machine.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mangle, second by Whalen. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I recommend acceptance of the bids as listed.
So moved.
Motion by Shields, second by Mangle. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item H, I recommend the nomination of the paraprofessional staff as listed on page BA2.
Motion by Shields, second by Leahy. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Page BA3, I recommend the nomination of the support staff as listed on page BA3.
Second. Motion by Shields, second by Whalen. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Page BA4, I recommend the board approve the resignations as listed.
Second.
Motion by Shields, second by Mangle. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3, I recommend the board approve the salary correction as listed.
Second. Motion by Shields, second by Redcamp. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 4, I recommend the salary changes as listed on page BA4.
Motion by Redcamp, second by Shields. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Page BA5, please. Item 5, I recommend the approval of the additions to the 1993-94 professional and support staff substitute lists.
Motion by Prokowski, second by Shields. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6, I recommend the approval of the additions, changes, and deletions to the extra duty assignments for the 93-94 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Mingle, second by Leahy. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7, the motion was already made and approved by Mrs. Leahy under her committee report, so I'll move to student travel. Before making a recommendation, I have a correction on item I2. That would be 9 North Penn High School night crier students, the advisor, and 2 teachers, and that would result in 3 substitute days. We learned that the night crier is going to be receiving some awards, and we wanted to send a few additional students. So with those corrections to item 2, I recommend the student travel as listed on pages BA5 and BA6.
Motion by Shields, second by Leahy. Any questions?
Question, Mrs.
Donna?
Davis. Dr. Elko, you mentioned 3 substitute days, but does that also remain at no additional cost?
Just the substitute days, yes, that's all.
Fine.
Any other questions on travel? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And for information, the vandalism report is attached, and I'd also like to announce to the board and to the community that the Northern Montgomery County Drug and Alcohol Task Force, Nancy Becker, a resident in our school district in Towmenson Township, who's the president of that, she was at a previous board meeting, and we had talked a little bit about a community awareness event, and we have that arranged. There will be a community forum here at North Penn High School on Monday, November 15th at 5:30 p.m. The program will be creating a drug-free North Penn community. It will be televised or taped by Prism, and it will be the great sports debate, and we are going to be encouraging students and community members to attend that, and I believe there will be some publicity in that regard. With that, that concludes my report, Mrs. Davis. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Elko. We'll now move to Treasurer's Report. Dennis?
For September 1993, our receipts for the month, $20,995,013.82. Year-to-date, $59,194,125.56. Our disbursements for the month, $9,222,258.90. Year-to-date disbursements, $18,168,538.37. We have term investments in the amount of $3 million, and our temporary investments are $44,794,000.
Thank you, Dennis. And the invoices.
I recommend approval of our sanction checks in the amount of $8,081,298.78, and our normal disbursements for the month of October in the amount of $614,469.86.
Motion by Redcamp, second by Whalen. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And food service, Bill.
Thank you, Pat. During the month of September, we had a total income of $269,928.77. Of that, $28,960 represents federal subsidy and $5,103 represents state subsidy. Our total raw food costs were $141,684. Our total operating costs of $211,125, which leaves a net loss for the month of September of $82,782.07. But I would like to remind the board that this is typical for the Food Services Department during the month of September. As you know, we have no income during the summer months. We do have summer salaries. We have equipment replacement. We have a great deal of preventive maintenance, and we have all of our startup costs, which involve a great deal of food purchases, and we have no revenue during those months to offset those costs. So the figure of $82,000 loss is not unusual. In fact, it's lower than it was last year, and I can assure the board that by the end of the year, we will see a black figure.
Thank you, Bill. And Solicitor's Report. Charles?
No report.
Okay, before we adjourn, I want to announce there was an executive session of the board this evening regarding assessment appeal litigation, special ed litigation, and real estate matter. And with that, do I have a motion for adjournment? Thank you for coming.